Hi guys, so this weekend I'm going to do a little bit of a reading vlog. I really want to do a reading vlog for when Namesake comes out next week, or whenever I get it in the mail, but I haven't done one before, and so I almost want to like practice or try one out first, especially with editing. But anyway, today is Thursday. I think I'll probably record this sort of over the weekend because I'm randomly holding up a butter knife. I'm just getting some tea. That doesn't explain the knife. I use it for honey, to get honey out, because I don't have a lot of spoons. Anyway, so I'm going to record this sort of over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, we'll see. I am going to sort of use it as an opportunity to sort of just like let you guys know a little bit more about myself, share sort of my day-to-day life with you guys, and share what I'm reading. I'm teaching a yoga class this evening, so I thought I would share sort of like how I have to rearrange my whole living room in order to do virtual yoga classes, because we're not allowed to do indoor fitness anything yet still in Denmark. And I think I'm probably going to film a couple videos on Saturday, so I'll show you also how I rearrange my living room for that. I move my furniture around in my living room all the time. It is not ideal. I'm just getting some tea now, and then I'm going to settle into my chair and get some significant reading done. Lately I've been in a little bit of a slump. I feel like there were a couple books that I started around the same time that I just really wasn't as into as I thought I would be as they progressed. And whenever, I feel like that always happens. Either I read like back to back to back books that I love, or I read a book that I'm not into, start another one, also not into it, start another one, also not into it. And that, when that happens, it puts me into a really big slump. But right now I am working on Into the Drowning Deep, which I'm not super loving. So I'm sort of like slowly picking away at it here and there while I can. And then I just started The Name of All Things last night. I'm about a third of the way into that. So I'll sort of let you know what I'm reading when and share my thoughts as I go with that. Thought I would do like an update on the book and where I'm at. So I've been reading The Name of All Things by Jen Lyons, or Lyons, I don't know. And I'm about a third of the way, and I didn't get a ton of progress. We are getting a sort of, someone is telling Kieran, our main character, a story. And so it is going back and forth, or it is going back in time to tell this story. I'm not sure how long it's going to be doing that. We're a third, I'm like 34% in, and it's still going on. We do get a little snippet, like basically at the beginning of every chapter, it goes back to them like sitting at this bar where this character is telling their story to Kieran. So we're getting a little bit of Kieran sort of reacting to this story, but he's not in the story. It is going back in time and filling in this other character, like what was going on in this other character's life while Kieran was, you know, being sold as a slave. Like it's that far back in timeline. I like this new character, don't get me wrong. I think that they are amazing. They sound like really badass, and like they have a really cool history, and I think that they are going to be important. We've sort of were a little bit introduced to them in the first book, but it just feels like there was like so much happened at the end of the first book, and now suddenly we're just like stopped at a standstill while we get caught up to this other character that we don't really know very well yet. and I just like, where's my Traith? Where's my Thurvashar? I'm getting a little bit of Kieran, but I'm not really getting a ton of Kieran. So like, I feel like I'm missing all of my familiar, beloved characters from the first book, and it feels like, because we're not sort of moving forward in time, it feels like a step back. So I don't want to say that I'm not enjoying it, but I'm not consuming it ravishly like I did the first one. Hey, so it is Friday morning. I had a couple meetings this morning with a volunteer board that I'm on. It's an international organization that runs job and career related and networking events for the partners of international employees. So I have some emails to send for that. And then I didn't end up reading too much of The Name of All Things last night. I'm only 38% in. I'm feeling a little bit frustrated by the book. It's not really catching me, and because I'm frustrated, then I don't want to read it, but I want to finish it. I feel like I worry that we're only going to get, like, that the whole book is going to be the backstory of this new character. And I feel like it's one of those things where we had, you know, like Kieran's perspective in the first book and his story, and so now we're getting this character for all of that time period as well. And I will be really upset if we end this book in almost exactly the same time period and place that the first book ended. And while the information that we're getting does feel relevant, it doesn't feel exciting because it doesn't feel like it is part of like forward progress and drive forward with where this plot, where this prophecy, where like all of this stuff is going. So hopefully it turns around. I ended up switching to Geekerella last night. I was not feeling Into the Drowning Deep. I wanted something, I was kind of in a bad mood and like upset about some stuff, and I wanted like a lighthearted romance. I, of course, postponed a bunch of my romance holds at the library like the day before yesterday, so I couldn't get any of the ones that I was on hold, like waiting for. And I found Geekerella on Scribd. It is a like young adult romance. It's a Cinderella retelling. I had heard good things. I heard it was like really cute, a little bit young, but that was fine. It was sort of the mood that I was looking for. The problem with Cinderella retellings is that I always forget the child abusing stepmother aspect of it. So it was not as lighthearted and feel good as what I was looking for. I will probably finish it, but just not in a rush to do that. My plan for today, I have, like I said, these emails to send for my volunteering, and then I usually go for a walk with a friend of mine on Fridays. We go to this vegan cafe that only opens up Friday, Saturday, Sunday because of lockdown, and she is away this weekend. She's out of town, but I'm still going to go to the cafe and run, instead of like doing like a 3-hour-long walk through nature, I'm going to run some errands instead, but sort of all of the different stores I need to go to will take me all over town. And then I'm hoping when I get back from that, I'm going to sit down and read. I will fill you in if I make significant progress or if anything changes on The Name of All Things. I'll let you know. Oh my God. Okay. I'm still reading The Name of All Things. It's still just chugging along slow. And literally, so it's like these two people, I said that this person's telling their backstory to Kieran, but really it's two people telling the backstory, the same backstory, but from one is the person, so you get every other chapter is from the person's perspective, and then the other chapters are from the character's chronicler, so those ones are written in third person. It's like, Jen Lians can't even do a straightforward storytelling in a straightforward manner. Like it can't just be from one person's perspective. It has to be from two. But anyway, I don't actually mind this. I'm just pointing out. But anyway, so this is the moment at the beginning of the chapter where they're like back in real time. And so the chronicler says, I'm going to skip ahead a bit if you don't mind. I mean, the interesting stuff happens at the tournament. And then I won't say the name, but it's like, oh no, so-and-so said, I never did hear about what happened to you while we were training. The priest cleared his throat and opened his book again. Very well. You're just like, no, skip ahead to the interesting stuff. Oh my God. Why? I'm struggling. Hey, so it is Saturday afternoon. I thought I would do a quick update. I didn't get a ton of reading done last night. Dave and I ended up watching this show called Efterforskningen, which is a Danish crime show about a real case or the real investigation behind this like horrifying submarine murder that took place in 2017. It is only 6 episodes, and we watched 5 last night. We were up super late, so I did not get a ton of reading, and then I slept in today. So I wasn't able to film the videos that I was planning to film today either. But yesterday I did read a little bit. I read 3 chapters of Into the Drowning Deep. I am still not really enjoying it. I feel like I really don't like the writing style. It is one where it's like third person, not deep, the opposite of third person deep. So it sort of like flits around, and I don't like sort of not feeling connected to any of the characters. There's a lot of like soapboxing that's going on from the author. I don't enjoy that. And I'm about 50% in. It hasn't really gotten scary per se yet, although the mermaids are definitely around. And I think it's on the turning point or like the cusp of beginning to get sort of like scary and suspenseful. But I find myself getting really, really upset about very specific details. And while that is like a little bit, I don't know, excessive, I feel like the author goes into very specific details, and so is therefore like in my head like opened herself up to me critiquing these very specific details. But I'll talk maybe a little bit more about that in like a wrap up for when I finish the book. The Name of All Things, I am starting to turn around on my feelings about it. I'm 51% in right now. I was just reading it and I had to stop because I'm starting to get a little bit excited. I wouldn't say that the plot has picked up per se, although I do feel like we're still very much so telling this character's story. But more and more little tidbits are starting to sneak through where it's connecting more with not necessarily the storyline from the first book, but like you're piecing together who people might be. So a big component of the first book, and I think of this series, is this idea that the gods in the worlds plays into this idea of past lives. And so there are people, and we're starting to get a little more tidbits and hints of who people might be. And I feel like I don't know for certain, but something just happened that really, really made me think I know who one of the other characters is. So I'm starting to get a little bit excited about it. I feel more of a drive to keep going, although again, it's like the 50% mark and we're still very much so telling this backstory. Part of me is resigned to the fact that that will be the whole book, although I will not be happy about it. I don't want to end this book being in exactly the same place, like time-wise, that we were in the first book. But if we get a lot more information sort of about the story and the prophecy, which we are, then I guess I'll be okay with it. And it's not like I have to wait for the next book to be released. It is already available and I can read it right away. I'm missing some of my characters from the first book. So anyway, that's it. That's my update. We're having people over tonight, so I'm trying to get as much reading done this afternoon as I can. And yeah, I have to teach a couple of yoga classes tomorrow, and if the lighting is okay tomorrow and I have time in between the yoga classes, I will maybe film my videos instead. Then I'm going to be doing like a review / rant on the Cruel Prince novella, how the King of Elfheim learned to hate stories, and I still have to film my review for A Deadly Education. So if I can get some notes together for that and the lighting is good, if everything lines up tomorrow, I will do that tomorrow. Anyway, that's it. I will keep you updated. Bye. Hi guys, it is Sunday morning. I just finished teaching a relaxing yoga class. So the room right now, my living room, is all set up for that. I'm going to flip it and turn it into sort of how I do the setup for when I film my videos. I'm going to film my sort of like review slash rant on the Cruel Prince novella, How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate His Stories. So I'm going to do that now, and then after that I will do a little bit of a catch you up on my reading so far. I've been prioritizing The Name of the Wind, so I will, or not The Name of the Wind, The Name of All Things. So I will update you on that. Okay, I was in the middle of filming my video for the Carden for the Carden novella, and it went from being sunny to like completely overcast. This like storm cloud rolled in, and now it is literally hailing. And of course, in order to get enough light in my apartment, I need to sit like right in front of those glass doors. And so it's like loud. So I have to like stop filming my video because I don't want the sound of the hail to override the sound of my voice. This is something that I'm actually a little bit worried about. Basically, since I started this channel, the weather has been very atypical for Denmark. I definitely have like a very narrow window of sun, like direct sunlight that I can use for filming, because it was like January and February. But it has been there has not been nearly as much rain as there usually is. And this is a relatively dark apartment, but I feel like we're getting back into the usual kind of constant rain, definitely like going forward into the spring, and I am genuinely concerned about when I'm going to be able to film. I don't want to buy lights. What do I do? Okay, I'll update you on while I wait this out. So I was up really late last night, so we had a couple people over for homemade pizza, and that was really nice. It was nice to see people again. These are people within our like direct bubble that Dave sees daily at work. So, and we were following the limits on how many people we could be, etc. So then after we finished up for the night, then I went to bed and like actually ended up reading really late into the night. I am now 66% of the way into The Name of All Things. It has started to get more interesting. I feel like the plot is still very but the last, I don't know how many pages because it's an ebook, but like the last little bit, the last 10% or so has been a lot more reveals and information starting to relevant information trickling through. And there's been a lot of okay, now I know who that person is and who that person is. And I had some like wild guesses about who some of the people were, and I was totally off. And things are definitely more connecting with the original story now. Like, I don't know, the character whose story we're hearing, they make a comment pretty early on to Kieran about like being like, I think we know all of the same people actually. And that is definitely happening. So while the characters that I liked from the first story are not here in the now with Kieran and this character yet, I'm getting to see them a little bit more because they are showing up in this other story. And it's starting to get a little not as dramatic as that first book, but there is more drama happening with all of these reveals of who people are. It is quite confusing. I already feel like I need to go back and reread that first book, which is crazy. I just read it in January and I'm not even finished the second book. And I'm like, oh God, I need to reread that first book to put everything together. This is perhaps way more complicated in terms of who people are and how various people are related to each other, is more complicated than I think it needs to be, which is especially complicated further by all of this past life situation. And then some of the beings are not exactly immortal, but long living beings. So it's they were alive with at the same time as this one character's past life iteration. And so it's more complicated than it needs to be. And for whatever reason, we don't get that family tree that was in the back of the first book. We're not getting it in this book. It's not as vital to this storyline, but they're still mentioning people who are relevant or who would have been on that family tree. And so I don't have the physical book, so I'm a little bit frustrated. I feel like I almost need to get the first book again from the library to like touch base on who's who. I cannot find a copy of this family tree on Google. So that's where I'm at. While the reveals are starting to get more exciting, this story being told is still happening, even at like this, whatever I said, 66% of the way through. And I think I was like, F by 50 if it happens. But I did remember that the storytelling component, like the back and forth, Talon and Kieran, telling Kieran's story thing, took up 80% of that first book, which I had sort of not forgotten, I guess just like wasn't realizing it. So now part of me is wondering if we're going to get almost the same amount of storytelling in this book and then have sort of the bigger, like the now timeline is going to, things are going to happen in just like the last 20%. I would actually probably put money on that she's going to keep up that process. This book, we're getting a lot more background or insight into sort of the other side of the, like the bad guy side of the prophecy, not necessarily because this character is involved. Like, I don't want to say that in terms of like, that's not a spoiler. We're just like through this storytelling component and through the people that this character has interacted with and their experiences, we are seeing the more of the, not necessarily the desires, but we're getting a little bit more evening out of, okay, maybe this character is not quite as bad as we thought, or they also seem to like really think that what they're doing is right. So it's not like mass destruction, destroy the world, only sort of bad guy, which is, it's nice to have that evening out. So yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it more than I was. At this point, I do still think that I prefer the first book, but it's not done yet. So I'll keep you updated. I just got The Kiss of Deception came available from the library. So I will probably read that next because I feel like it's a lot lighter than what this is going to be, but I do really want to prioritize this book and finish it. Okay, the storm has ended. Not really sun, but the gray clouds are slightly brighter than they were a moment ago, so I'm going to switch back and finish filming my Carta Novella rant. Hey, so it is Monday afternoon. I'm going to wrap up my vlog here. I have spent literally all morning reading The Name of All Things. I just finished it. Like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what just happened. Jen Leon's just like, her style of writing in this series seems to be to pack all of the action and not necessarily all the conflict, all of the action and high stakes into the final 20% of the book. So while there is drama beforehand, everything shakes out and happens in this last 20%, and it was unreal. And I know that like generally books have a climax towards the end, but this feels different. It feels so much more intense in the end compared to everything else. Lots of, I mean, there were lots of reveals in the second half of the book. My mind is reeling with what we know now. I'm a little bit confused still about some of the things. Like, I feel like I had things that I thought I understood from the first book, and now I'm questioning that. This book, more so than the first one, really makes you question the difference between right and wrong in this world, and like with all of the people involved, all of the kingdoms involved in the empire, and do the ends justify the means? What side of the prophecy do you want to be on? Like, we got a lot more insight into what the other side, like what the bad guys are working towards, or what their thought process is a little bit, and it's not as clear cut as you are led to believe in the first book. So it's starting to get more confusing and like conflicting internally. Some of the characters made some choices that really surprised me towards the end of the book. Yeah, reeling a little bit. I feel like I need a few days to process all of this. I need to read something much lighter. I think I'm gonna read The Kiss of Deception next. So it's just like young adult fantasy romance sort of. Yeah, but like first impressions, I think that I liked the first one better than the Name of All Things. I like The Rune of Kings better, I think, but I'm not sure if that was just because everything was like a little bit new or exciting, and I had some favorite characters in that one who made very small only cameos in this second book. So while I need some time off, I am really, really wanting to pick up the next book to find out what happens. However, I just checked at the library, and the next book, The Memory of Souls, has a 12-week waiting list. So I don't know what I was thinking by not reserving that ahead of time. I actually, even the last couple of days, was like, I should probably put that on hold just in case. And then here it is, 12 weeks. I mean, not that the last couple of days would have made a difference. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because my plan was to read this one in March, the third book in April, because the fourth book is coming out in May. So I don't know what I'm going to do now. I'll have to do some thinking. I think I'm going to DNF Into the Drowning Deep. I haven't read it since the other day. I'm at 50%. I just have like no interest in picking it up, but like I'm not enjoying it. If I wasn't reading it for this Animal Companions and Magical Creature readathon, I probably wouldn't even consider continuing on, and I don't want to put myself through that. I usually am a book finisher, but it's just not worth it. There's so many other books that I would rather read, and I don't want to be like force myself to read something that I'm not enjoying. I did leave myself a lot of like options for the for the cues for this readathon with like the bingo card or whatever. So I'm gonna have a look at my bingo card tonight and like probably pivot to a different line, because I won't be able to get the cues that I was planning on for Into the Drowning Deep. So I'm saying it as if like I was thinking about it, but I feel like that's just what I'm gonna do. If I were to talk to myself into it, that's how much I'm not enjoying this book. I don't need to find out what I haven't even reached the thriller components of this thriller, and I don't feel like I need to. I'm going to do some editing the rest of the day, and I have I have to teach a yoga class tonight, and yeah, that's it. What's it called? Namesake comes out tomorrow, at least my time tomorrow. And I am really excited, although I have not received an email from the company that I pre-ordered it from to be like, it's on its way to you. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. It is definitely a book that I'm going to drop everything that I am reading when it arrives and pick it up immediately. So anyway, really excited about Namesake coming out. Well, this has been a really long vlog, I think. So thank you for sticking around if you are still here. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys.